First contact and rising tensions. The day that changed everything came without warning. Humanity had long dreamed of first contact with alien life, but no one expected it to happen on a routine Tuesday morning in the middle of New York City's Central Park. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, a renowned xenobiologist, was jogging her usual route when the air before her shimmered and tore open like a curtain. Through the rift stepped a being unlike anything she had ever seen. Tall, lithe, with iridescent skin that seemed to change color with each movement. Its large, almond-shaped eyes fixed on Elena, and a melodious voice echoed in her mind. "Greetings, human. We are the Zarkoni, and we come in peace." Within hours, the news of first contact spread across the globe. Governments scrambled to respond, media outlets went into overdrive, and the internet exploded with theories, fears, and hopes. As more Zarkoni ships appeared in orbit, world leaders gathered for an emergency United Nations session to coordinate humanity's response. Elena found herself at the center of it all, chosen as part of the first diplomatic team to meet with the alien visitors. Her expertise in theoretical alien biology made her invaluable in these unprecedented times. As she boarded the shuttle to the Zarkoni mothership, her heart raced with a mixture of excitement and trepidation. The Zarkoni proved to be a highly advanced civilization, offering humanity access to technologies beyond our wildest dreams. Faster than light travel, clean energy sources, and medical advancements that could eradicate disease, all were on the table. In return, they asked only for cultural exchange and the opportunity to study Earth's unique biodiversity. Months passed, and the initial excitement gave way to a period of intense collaboration and learning. Humans and Zarkoni worked side by side in newly established research centers across the globe. Elena led a team studying Zarkoni physiology, marveling at their ability to photosynthesize and regenerate lost limbs. But as humans quickly grasped alien concepts and technologies, a subtle shift began to occur in the Zarkoni's attitude. What started as curiosity turned to surprise, and then to something that looked suspiciously like concern. One day, while working late in the lab, Elena overheard a conversation between two Zarkoni scientists. Her universal translator picked up their whispered words. They learned too quickly. It's not natural. The council must be informed. These humans, they could be dangerous. Elena's blood ran cold. She had always sensed an undercurrent of unease from some of the Zarkoni, but this was the first concrete evidence of their misgivings. She debated whether to report what she had heard, but to whom, and what consequences might it have for the burgeoning relationship between their species. Before she could decide, an alarm blared through the facility. Red lights flashed as a computerized voice announced, "Security breach in Sector 7. All personnel evacuate immediately." Heart pounding, Elena rushed to the exit, only to collide with Dr. James Chen, her human colleague. His face was ashen as he grabbed her arm. "Elena, it's the prototype. Someone's trying to steal it." The prototype, a revolutionary medical device that combined human ingenuity with Zarkoni technology. In the wrong hands, it could be weaponized. Without a word, they both turned and ran towards Sector 7. As they approached, they heard the sound of energy weapons discharging. Rounding a corner, they saw a group of masked figures, a mix of humans and aliens, trying to force their way into the secure vault. Security forces, both human and Zarkoni, lay unconscious on the ground. James pulled Elena back behind cover. "We need to do something," he whispered urgently. Elena's mind raced. The vault's locking mechanism was keyed to specific genetic signatures, hers among them. If she could get close enough, she might be able to trigger a lockdown. "Cover me," she said, her voice steadier than she felt. As James created a distraction, Elena crawled along the floor, using the chaos as cover. She reached the vault's control panel and pressed her hand against it, praying it would recognize her through the adrenaline coursing through her veins. For a heart-stopping moment, nothing happened. Then, with a hiss and a clang, reinforced doors slammed shut, sealing the prototype inside and cutting off the intruder's escape route. In the aftermath of the attack, as security forces rounded up the would-be thieves, Alina found herself face to face with the Zarkoni High Counselor. Typhira, you have done us a great service today, Dr. Rodriguez, Kaxira said, her tone a mixture of gratitude and something else. Wariness, perhaps. But this incident raises concerns. Your species has shown remarkable adaptability and resourcefulness. Some among us wonder if it might be too much so. Alina felt a chill run down her spine. What do you mean? She asked cautiously. Zyra's gaze was penetrating. There are those who believe that humans, with their rapid learning and innovative thinking, could pose a threat if introduced to the wider galactic community, especially in matters of conflict. But we've done nothing wrong, Alina protested. We've only sought to learn and grow. Indeed, Kyra replied. And yet, in mere months, you've mastered technologies that took other species centuries to understand. Your potential is unsettling to some. As Syra turned to leave, she paused. A delegation will be arriving soon from the Galactic Council. They will want to assess humanity's readiness for fuller integration into the cosmic community. I suggest you prepare your leaders. The coming days will be crucial for your species' future among the stars. Alina watched the High Counselor glide away, her mind reeling. What had started as a dream of cosmic unity now teetered on the brink of something far more complex and potentially dangerous. Humanity's place in the universe hung in the balance, and she realized that the greatest challenge was yet to come. As she made her way back to her quarters, Alina couldn't shake the feeling that everything was about to change. The stars that had once seemed so welcoming now felt distant and cold. Humanity had taken its first steps into a larger world, but at what cost? And what trials awaited them in the cosmic court of the Galactic Council? With a deep breath, Alina steeled herself for the challenges ahead. Whatever came next, she knew one thing for certain. Humanity would face it head-on, with all the resilience, creativity, and determination that had brought them to the stars in the first place. The Galactic Incident. The arrival of the Galactic Council delegation brought with it a palpable tension that seemed to blanket the entire planet. Dr. Alina Rodriguez found herself at the heart of it all, serving as a liaison between Earth's leaders and the alien representatives. The Council had sent an eclectic mix of species, the reptilian Drax, the ethereal Luminae, and the insectoid Zictra, each more alien than the last. As the days wore on, Alina couldn't shake the feeling that humanity was being put under a microscope. Every technological advancement, every cultural quirk, every aspect of human history was scrutinized and debated. The council members seemed particularly interested in humanity's capacity for warfare, a topic that made Alina increasingly uneasy. It was during one such tense meeting that the incident occurred. The Drax representative, Ambassador Slur, was grilling General Maria Hawkins about Earth's military capabilities. You mean to tell me? Slur hissed, his forked tongue flicking out in agitation, that your species has developed weapons capable of destroying your entire planet several times over. General Hawkins, a decorated veteran with nerves of steel, met the alien's gaze unflinchingly. We have. But we've also developed safeguards and treaties to prevent their use. Our history has taught us the value of peace. Slur's scaled brow furrowed. And yet you continue to maintain these arsenals. Why? Before Hawkins could respond, alarms blared throughout the facility. A holographic display flickered to life, showing a massive unidentified ship dropping out of FTL on the edge of the solar system. Unknown vessel approaching Earth at high speed. An AI voice announced. Attempts at communication have failed. Ship's energy signature matches no known Galactic Council species. Chaos erupted in the conference room. The council members began shouting over each other, demanding explanations and accusing various factions of treachery. In the midst of the pandemonium, Alina locked eyes with James Chen, who had been quietly observing from a corner. They shared a look of mutual understanding. This was the moment that would define humanity's future. As the alien ship entered Earth's orbit, it began deploying smaller craft. The Zarkani High Counselor Xyra, who had been silently watching the proceedings, suddenly spoke up. "Those are Krell warships," she said, her voice filled with dread. "A species known for their brutality and expansionist tendencies. They've been a scourge on the Outer Rim for centuries." General Hawkins sprang into action, barking orders into her comm unit. "This is not a drill. I repeat, this is not a drill. Initiate Protocol Omega. All hands to battle stations." The Galactic Council members watched in a mixture of awe and horror as humanity's military machine roared to life. Within minutes, Earth's defensive fleet was mobilized, a mix of conventional aircraft and reverse-engineered alien tech that humanity had managed to develop in the short time since first contact. As the battle unfolded in Earth's orbit, Alina and James found themselves in the command center, translating alien communications and providing crucial insights on xenotechnology. The Krell's initial assault was brutal, their energy weapons tearing through Earth's outer defenses like paper. But then, something unexpected happened. Human pilots, drawing on centuries of aerial combat experience, began to outmaneuver the alien ships. Earth's scientists, who had been feverishly studying alien tech, activated a prototype shield system that managed to deflect the Krell's most devastating attacks. On the ground, as Krell dropships began to land, human forces demonstrated a level of adaptability that left the Galactic Council observers speechless. Soldiers quickly figured out weak points in Krell armor and adjusted their tactics on the fly. Civilian hackers managed to breach Krell communications, feeding false information to the invaders and sowing confusion in their ranks. Ambassador Slar turned to Xyra, his reptilian features contorted in disbelief. "How is this possible? They're holding their own against a technologically superior force." Xyra's response was grim. "This is what we feared. Humans don't just adapt. They thrive on challenge. Every obstacle we've put in their path, they've overcome with startling speed." As the battle raged on, Alina and James worked tirelessly to coordinate Earth's defenses. In a stroke of brilliance, they'd managed to repurpose the medical prototype that had nearly been stolen months ago. By reversing its healing capabilities, they created a non-lethal weapon that could incapacitate Krell soldiers without killing them. The tide of the battle began to turn. Human forces, armed with this new technology, started pushing the Krell back. In space, Earth's fleet, bolstered by hastily added alien tech, managed to corner the Krell mothership. In a final, desperate move, the Krell commander opened a communication channel. His grotesque, tentacled face filled the screens in the command center. "Impossible," the Krell growled in a guttural language that the translators struggled to keep up with. "You are a primitive species. How have you defeated us?" General Hawkins stepped forward, her voice steady and resolute. "We are humanity. We've spent our entire history preparing for this moment, though we didn't know it. Every war, every conflict, every struggle has honed us. We don't want to fight, but by God, we'll defend our home." The Krell commander's eyes widened in what might have been fear. Without another word, the transmission cut off. Moments later, the Krell ships began to retreat, jumping to FTL as soon as they cleared Earth's gravity well. As the adrenaline of battle faded, a heavy silence fell over the command center. Humans and aliens alike stood in shock, trying to process what had just occurred. Alina felt a mix of pride and apprehension as she looked around the room. They had won, but at what cost? The Galactic Council members huddled together, speaking in hushed tones. Finally, Ambassador Slar approached General Hawkins. "We underestimated your species, General," the Drax said, his voice a mix of admiration and wariness. "Your victory today was impressive, but it also confirms our worst fears." Hawkins frowned. "Fears? We just defended not only ourselves but potentially the entire galaxy from these Krell." Surely that proves we're ready to join the galactic community. Kyra stepped forward, her iridescent skin shimmering with tension. On the contrary, General, it proves that humanity is too dangerous to be allowed free rein in the galaxy. Your adaptability, your martial prowess, in the wrong circumstances, you could be more destructive than the Krell. Elena felt her heart sink as she realized the implications of Kyra's words. "What are you saying?" she asked, though she feared she already knew the answer. Ambassador Shalar's next words fell like a hammer blow. The Galactic Council will be convening an emergency session. The main topic of discussion will be whether to quarantine Earth and ban humans from participating in any future galactic conflicts. As protests erupted around the room, Elena caught James' eye once more. They had survived the battle, but the war for humanity's place in the stars was far from over. The real fight, the fight for their future, was just beginning. The Great Debate. The Grand Assembly Hall of the Galactic Council was a sight to behold. Situated on a neutral space station at the heart of the Milky Way, its soaring crystal dome offered a breathtaking view of the galactic core. Under different circumstances, Dr. Elena Rodriguez might have been awestruck. Instead, she felt the weight of humanity's future pressing down on her shoulders as she took her seat in the human delegation. The circular chamber was filled with representatives from hundreds of species, their forms as varied as the stars themselves. Some floated in anti-gravity fields, others were submerged in liquid-filled tanks, and still others appeared as shimmering holograms. At the center stood the High Council, 12 of the most ancient and respected species in the galaxy. As the session was called to order, Elena leaned over to James Chen, who sat beside her. "I never thought I'd say this," she whispered, "but I think I prefer facing down the Krell." James nodded grimly. "At least with the Krell, we knew where we stood. This is like trying to navigate a minefield blindfolded." The first to speak was Arxer, the Lumine representative. His ethereal form glowed softly as he addressed the assembly. "Esteemed colleagues, we are gathered here today to address a matter of grave importance. The species known as humans have demonstrated capabilities that far exceed our initial assessments. Their victory over the Krell, while impressive, raises serious concerns about the potential threat they pose to galactic stability." Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Elena felt a surge of indignation. How could defending themselves against an unprovoked attack be seen as a threat? Ambassador Sidler of the Drax took the floor next, his scales glinting under the chamber's lights. "Let us not mince words. Humans have shown an unprecedented aptitude for warfare. Their ability to adapt to and overcome superior technology in a matter of hours is disturbing. We must consider the possibility that, if left unchecked, they could become a dominant military force in the galaxy within a few decades." The debate raged on, with various species offering their perspectives. Some, like the silicon-based crystalline collective, argued for strict containment of humanity. Others, such as the Zictra hive mind, suggested that human potential could be harnessed for the greater good of the galaxy if properly controlled. As Elena listened, her frustration grew. These aliens were discussing humanity's fate as if they were some dangerous animal to be caged or put down. She glanced at the other members of the human delegation, diplomats, scientists, and military leaders, and saw her own anger and disbelief mirrored in their faces. Finally, unable to contain herself any longer, Elena stood up. "Esteemed members of the council," she began, her voice steady despite her racing heart, "I request permission to address the assembly." There was a moment of stunned silence. It was almost unheard of for a representative of a non-member species to speak during such a high-level debate. But Kyra, the Zarkoni High Counselor who had first welcomed humanity to the galactic stage, nodded her assent. "Dr. Elena Rodriguez, you may speak." Taking a deep breath, Elena stepped forward. "Distinguished representatives of the galaxy, I stand before you not just as a scientist, but as a voice for humanity. You speak of us as a threat, a danger to be contained. But I ask you this: Is it not the very essence of sentient life to strive, to adapt, to overcome challenges? She paused, letting her words sink in. Yes, we have shown proficiency in combat, but that is not the sum of who we are. For every advancement we've made in warfare, we've made 1,000 in medicine, in art, in the pursuit of knowledge. Our history is not just one of conflict, but of great acts of compassion, of leaps of scientific understanding, of creating beauty from chaos. The chamber was silent now, all eyes fixed on Elena. She continued, her voice growing stronger. You fear our potential for destruction, but what of our potential for creation? In the short time since we joined the galactic community, we've already begun integrating your technologies in ways you never imagined. We don't seek to conquer, we seek to understand, to explore, to push the boundaries of what's possible. Elena's gaze swept the room, meeting the eyes, or eye equivalents, of as many alien species as she could. If you quarantine us, if you ban us from participating in galactic affairs, you won't just be limiting humanity. You'll be depriving the galaxy of the unique perspective we bring. Our adaptability, our creativity, our relentless drive to improve. These are gifts we offer to the cosmos. She took a step forward, her voice filled with passion. We faced the Krell not because we sought conflict, but because we had no choice. And in that moment of crisis, we didn't just fight for ourselves. We fought for every species that the Krell have terrorized, for the very idea of freedom in this galaxy. Is that not the kind of ally you want by your side? As Elena finished, a buzz of conversation filled the chamber. She had given them something to think about. But would it be enough? The debate continued for hours, with impassioned arguments on both sides. The Galactic Council seemed split, with no clear consensus emerging. Just as it seemed they might be at an impasse, an unexpected voice spoke up. It was Kizin, the representative of the enigmatic void dancers, a species so advanced they were nearly mythical. His voice resonated in the minds of all present, bypassing the need for translators. We have listened to all arguments, Kizin's telepathic voice echoed, and we have reached a conclusion. Humanity is indeed dangerous, but so is any species with the drive to reach the stars. Their potential for destruction is matched only by their potential for greatness. To cage them would be to deny the very principles of growth and evolution that our galactic society is founded upon. A hush fell over the assembly as Kizin continued. However, their martial prowess cannot be ignored. Therefore, we propose a compromise. Humanity will be welcomed into the galactic community, but with a condition. They are to be barred from participating in any interstellar conflicts, save in the defense of their own world, or in the face of a threat to the entire galaxy. The proposal sent shockwaves through the chamber. It was unprecedented, but it offered a middle ground that many could accept. After another round of heated discussions, a vote was called. Elena held her breath as the results were tallied. In the end, the motion passed by a narrow margin. Humanity would not be quarantined, but they would be bound by the strictest non-intervention protocols ever imposed on a spacefaring race. As the session adjourned, Elena felt a mix of relief and trepidation. They had avoided the worst-case scenario, but the implications of this decision were enormous. As she and James made their way out of the chamber, they were approached by Xyra. The Zarkani High Counselor's expression was unreadable. You spoke well, Dr. Rodriguez. Your words swayed many minds today. Elena nodded cautiously. Thank you, High Counselor. But I can't help feeling that this is just the beginning of a much longer journey for humanity. Xyra's iridescent skin shimmered. Indeed it is. You have been given a chance, but also a great responsibility. The galaxy will be watching humanity very closely from now on. As Xyra glided away, Elena turned to James. So, what now? She asked. James gave a wry smile. Now we go home and figure out how to navigate this new reality. We've got a lot of work ahead of us. Elena nodded, her mind already racing with the challenges and opportunities that lay ahead. Humanity had won the right to reach for the stars, But the true test of their place in the cosmos was just beginning. As they boarded the ship that would take them back to Earth, Alina couldn't shake the feeling that this was not the end of the story, but merely the end of its first chapter. Unintended consequences. 5 years had passed since the Galactic Council's momentous decision. Earth had changed dramatically in that time, transformed by the influx of alien technologies and the new restrictions placed upon humanity. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood at the window of her office in the United Earth Space Agency, gazing out at the gleaming spires of New Geneva, the newly established capital of Earth's unified government. The ban on human participation in interstellar conflicts had forced humanity to innovate in ways no one had anticipated. Unable to contribute militarily to galactic affairs, humans had thrown themselves into other pursuits with characteristic determination. Dr. Rodriguez, her AI assistant, chimed, interrupting her reverie. The Zarkoni delegation has arrived for the Technology Exchange Summit. Elena straightened her jacket. Thank you, Araya. I'll be right there. As she made her way to the conference room, Elena reflected on the irony of their situation. The very restrictions meant to limit humanity's influence had, in many ways, expanded it. The conference room was a bustle of activity when she arrived. Humans and aliens alike were gathered around holographic displays, discussing everything from terraforming techniques to faster-than-light drive improvements. In the center of it all stood James Chen, now Earth's chief science officer, deep in conversation with a group of luminous scientists. "Ah, Elena," James called out, waving her over. "You're just in time. We were discussing the latest breakthrough in quantum entanglement communication." Elena joined the group, quickly immersing herself in the technical discussion. As she spoke, she couldn't help but notice the mix of admiration and unease in the alien's expressions. It was a look she had become all too familiar with over the years. "Your advancements in this field are remarkable," one of the Luminae said, his ethereal form flickering with what Elena had come to recognize as excitement. "We've been working on similar technology for centuries, but you've solved problems we thought insurmountable." James beamed with pride. "That's what we do best. Give us a challenge, and we'll find a way to overcome it." As the day wore on, Elena found herself in conversation after conversation, each one highlighting humanity's rapid progress in various fields. Medical breakthroughs that were revolutionizing healthcare across the galaxy, environmental restoration techniques that were breathing life back into dead worlds, AI systems that were pushing the boundaries of what was thought possible. But it wasn't all positive. During a break, Elena overheard a hushed conversation between two Drax representatives. "It's unnatural," one hissed. "They're advancing too quickly. At this rate, they'll surpass us technologically within a decade." The other nodded grimly. "The ban on warfare was meant to contain them, but it's only redirected their efforts. We may have created an even greater threat." Elena frowned, troubled by their words. She knew that not everyone in the galaxy was happy with humanity's progress. There had been incidents, trade embargoes, diplomatic snubs, even a few attempts at industrial sabotage. But so far, nothing had managed to slow humanity's relentless march forward. As the summit drew to a close, Elena found herself face to face with Zyra, the Zarkoni High Counselor. The alien's iridescent skin seemed duller than Elena remembered, her large eyes heavy with concern. "Dr. Rodriguez," Ira said, her melodious voice tinged with an emotion Elena couldn't quite place. "Your people continue to surprise us." Elena nodded cautiously. "We're doing our best to contribute positively to the galactic community, as we promised." Kyra's gaze was penetrating. "Indeed, but there are those who wonder if your contributions might be too much, too fast. There's talk in the council of imposing further restrictions." Elena felt a chill run down her spine. "Restrictions, but we've adhered to every regulation, every rule." "It's not about rules," Zyra interrupted gently. "It's about balance. Many species are feeling left behind." There are fears that humans might dominate the galaxy economically and technologically, even without military might. Before Elena could respond, an alarm blared through the building. Screens around the conference room flickered to life, showing news feeds from across the galaxy. Elena's heart sank as she read the headlines. Outbreak on Novus Prime. Unknown pathogen. Millions infected. As chaos erupted around them, with delegates rushing to contact their homeworlds, Elena locked eyes with James across the room. They shared a look of grim determination. This was a crisis, yes, but it was also an opportunity. Chance for humanity to prove its worth beyond any doubt. High Counselor, Elena said, turning back to Xira. We can help. Our medical technology, our adaptive problem solving. We can find a cure. Xira hesitated, her skin shifting colors rapidly. The situation on Novus Prime is dire, but involving humans in a galactic crisis of this magnitude, it would be unprecedented. So was banning an entire species from warfare, Elena countered. Sometimes, unprecedented situations call for unprecedented solutions. For a long moment, Xira was silent. Then, slowly, she nodded. Very well. I will speak to the Council. But be warned, Dr. Rodriguez, the galaxy will be watching your every move. The stakes have never been higher. As Xira glided away to make her calls, Elena felt the weight of responsibility settling on her shoulders. She caught James' eye again and gestured for him to join her. Looks like we've got work to do, she said as he approached. James nodded, a glint of excitement in his eyes despite the gravity of the situation. A galaxy-wide pandemic. Sounds like just another Tuesday for humanity. Elena couldn't help but smile. It was that very attitude. The ability to face impossible odds with determination and even a touch of humor that had brought humanity this far. As they began to assemble their team and gather resources, Elena realized that this crisis would be the true test of humanity's place in the cosmos. The ban on warfare had pushed humanity to excel in other areas, but now they faced a challenge that would require all of their ingenuity, adaptability, and compassion. As the first reports from Novus Prime began to come in, painting a picture of suffering on an unimaginable scale, Elena steeled herself for the task ahead. This was not a battle that would be won with weapons or military tactics. It was a fight against time, against an unseen enemy that threatened all sentient life. And humanity, with all its flaws and all its potential, was uniquely positioned to lead that fight. As Elena and James boarded the ship that would take them to Novus Prime, she couldn't shake the feeling that the outcome of this crisis would reshape the galaxy's perception of humanity. For better or worse, the actions they took in the coming days and weeks would define their species' role in the cosmic community for generations to come. The stars streaked by as their ship entered FTL, carrying them towards a world in crisis and a future uncertain. Humanity had been forged in the crucible of adversity, and now they would face their greatest challenge yet. The galaxy had banned them from fighting wars, but in doing so, it had unleashed a force for innovation and problem-solving unlike any it had ever seen. As Novus Prime grew larger in their view screen, Elena took a deep breath. The real work was just beginning, and the fate of countless lives, human and alien alike, hung in the balance. It was time for humanity to show the galaxy what they were truly capable of, not through the art of war, but through the power of science, compassion, and the indomitable human spirit. A new era of cooperation. The skies of Novus Prime were a sickly green, thick with the spores of the alien pathogen that had brought the planet to its knees. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood at the viewport of the orbital research station, her eyes fixed on the world below. 3 months had passed since humanity had joined the fight against the pandemic. 3 months of sleepless nights, breakthrough moments, and heartbreaking setbacks. Elena, James Chen's voice came from behind her. The latest results are in. She turned to face her colleague, hope and trepidation warring in her chest. And a smile broke across James' tired face. It worked. The nanovirus is adapting to the pathogen's mutations. We've got it on the run. Relief washed over Elena like a tidal wave. They had done it. Humanity's unique approach, combining adaptive AI with cutting-edge biotechnology, had cracked the code that had eluded the galaxy's finest minds for months. As news of the breakthrough spread, the mood on the station shifted from desperate determination to cautious celebration. Alien scientists who had initially viewed their human counterparts with suspicion now approached them with newfound respect and curiosity. But Elena knew their work was far from over. "We need to start mass production immediately," she said, already moving towards the communication hub. "Every moment we delay, more lives are lost." The next few weeks were a blur of activity. Production facilities across the galaxy were retooled to manufacture the human-designed cure. Elena found herself coordinating with alien governments, corporations, and scientific institutions, breaking down barriers that had stood for centuries. As the cure was distributed and the pandemic began to recede, Elena couldn't help but reflect on the journey that had brought them here. The ban on human warfare, intended to limit their influence, had instead pushed humanity to channel their drive and creativity into other fields. The result was a level of scientific and technological advancement that had saved billions of lives. 1 month after the cure's deployment, Elena and James were summoned to an emergency session of the Galactic Council. As they entered the Grand Assembly Hall, Elena was struck by the change in atmosphere. Where once there had been fear and suspicion, now there was a palpable sense of gratitude and respect. High Counselor Xyra took the floor, her iridescent skin shimmering with emotion. "Esteemed colleagues," she began, her voice echoing through the chamber. "We stand at a crossroads in galactic history. The recent crisis has forced us to reevaluate many of our long-held beliefs and policies." Elena felt a flutter of anticipation in her chest as Tyra continued. "Humanity, a species we once feared and sought to contain, has proven to be our greatest asset in our time of need. Their ingenuity, their adaptability, their unwavering determination in the face of impossible odds. These are qualities that we, as a galactic community, must learn to embrace rather than fear." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the assembly. Elena exchanged a glance with James, hardly daring to hope where this might be leading. "Therefore," Kyra declared, her voice rising, "I propose that we not only lift the restrictions on human involvement in galactic affairs, but that we also establish a new initiative, the Interstellar Cooperative for Advanced Research and Exploration, or ICARE. This organization will be led jointly by humans and other species, dedicated to pushing the boundaries of science and technology for the benefit of all sentient life." The chamber erupted in a cacophony of voices, some enthusiastically supportive, others cautious or skeptical. But as the debate raged on, it became clear that the tide had turned. The galaxy had seen what humanity could do when given the chance, and they wanted more. Hours later, as the final votes were tallied and the motion passed, Elena found herself approached by Kizin, the Void Dancer representative who had proposed the original compromise years ago. "You have exceeded our wildest expectations, Dr. Rodriguez." Kizin's telepathic voice resonated in her mind. "But I suspect you have only begun to show us what humanity is truly capable of." Elena nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility settling on her shoulders once more. "We're just getting started," she replied. "There's so much more we can accomplish together." As they prepared to return to Earth, now recognized as a full member of the galactic community, Elena and James stood on the observation deck of their ship, watching the stars streak by. "You know," James said, a hint of amusement in his voice, "it's ironic. They banned us from fighting wars, thinking it would keep us in check. Instead, it pushed us to fight battles on entirely different fronts, against disease, against environmental destruction, against the limits of scientific understanding." Elena smiled, "And in doing so, we forged alliances stronger than any military pact. We've shown the galaxy that there's more than one way to be strong." As Earth came into view, a beautiful blue marble suspended in the void, Alina felt a surge of pride and hope for the future. Humanity had been tested, and they had risen to the challenge. They had proven that their greatest strength lay not in their capacity for destruction, but in their boundless creativity and their drive to build a better future for all. The ban on human warfare had not constrained them. It had unleashed their true potential. And now, as equal partners in the galactic community, they stood ready to face whatever challenges the universe might throw their way. As their ship began its descent towards the gleaming spires of New Geneva, Alina knew that this was not an ending, but a new beginning. The stars, once distant and forbidding, now beckoned with endless possibilities. Humanity had found its place in the cosmos, not as conquerors or soldiers, but as innovators, healers, and explorers. The galaxy had banned humans from fighting wars, but in doing so, it had helped them win the greatest victory of all: the chance to shape a brighter future for every sentient being among the stars.